Your greatest enemy is not out there. It's inside your head. It's not the people who doubt you. Not the world telling you no. It's the voice that whispers you're not enough. The one that tells you to hit snooze, to stay small, to settle. Number 1. Know your enemy. Your greatest opponent is not an external force. It's not a competitor, not your environment, not your job, your family, your past, or even your future. Your greatest enemy is the one living inside your own head. That quiet voice that no one else hears. That subtle resistance that no one else sees. The force that holds you back is internal, invisible, but more powerful than any obstacle the world can throw at you. You don't lose because the world beat you. You lose because you surrendered to yourself. It's the voice that convinces you to stay comfortable when you know growth requires discomfort. It tells you you're not good enough before you even try. It talks you out of discipline. It whispers that the pain of persistence isn't worth the prize. And the worst part? It sounds exactly like you. But here's the truth. That voice is a liar. It's not wisdom. It's not caution. It's fear, dressed up as logic. The Stoics called this voice the passions, impulses that cloud judgment and destroy inner peace. Seneca warned of the mind's tendency to create its own suffering, not because of what life throws at us, but because of how we choose to see and react to it. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, fought daily against this internal resistance. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The enemy isn't out there. It's the stories you tell yourself. It's the comfort you prioritize over courage. It's the need for approval that silences your ambition. You sabotage your dreams not because you aren't capable, but because your inner dialogue has convinced you to play small. And that dialogue, that narrative, is yours to rewrite. Stoicism teaches that we must master ourselves before we can master anything else. Discipline, reason, acceptance. These are the tools of the warrior within. You can't control everything around you, but you can govern what's within you. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." So when you feel fear creeping in, when your motivation fades, when excuses start to whisper, recognize that moment as the true battlefield. This is where wars are won or lost. Not in the spotlight, not on the stage, not in the arena, but alone, quietly, when no one is watching. The war is not a loud, dramatic showdown. It's a daily test, a whisper that says, "Stay in bed," and your refusal to listen. A moment of doubt met with a step forward. Each act of self-discipline is a small but powerful blow against the enemy within. Every time you choose effort over ease, principle over impulse, you reclaim ground. You become more than you were. You build strength where there was once weakness. The Stoics trained themselves to expect hardship and welcome it. They knew that adversity isn't the enemy, it's the training ground. So the question is not, how do I avoid the war within? The question is, how do I train for it? You prepare by confronting the voice, not running from it. By sitting with discomfort, not numbing it. By replacing self-pity with self-respect. There's no hero without a battle, and this one, the battle for your own mind, is the most heroic of all, because when you win this war, nothing outside can touch you. You become unshakable, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Not because the world changed, but because you changed the way you show up to it. In every moment of resistance, you have a choice: yield or rise. Choose to rise. The victory is not in avoiding the struggle, it's in owning it. In standing firm when every part of you wants to fold. The greatest victories don't happen in front of crowds. They happen in silence, in solitude, in the space between who you were and who you decide to become. This is the war, not against others, against yourself, and it's one you can win, one decision at a time. Number 2, arm yourself. There comes a moment when you realize that motivation is not enough. That feeling you chase, that fleeting rush of inspiration after watching a hype video or hearing an uplifting quote, it doesn't last. You've felt it. You've been there, fired up one day, burnt out the next. You told yourself you'd start Monday. You said this time would be different. You even believed it. But when the high wore off, when the excitement faded, you slipped back into old habits. Why? Because you weren't armed. You weren't prepared for the silence, for the boredom, for the days that feel like you're dragging your soul through mud. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't announce itself, but it is everything. It is the quiet engine that keeps you moving when nothing else works. And here's the truth, the one that pierces through every excuse and cuts to your core. Your life will not change through emotion. It will only change through execution. Stoic philosophers didn't live in a bubble of good vibes and manifesting. They didn't wait to feel like doing hard things. They embraced the difficulty. Marcus Aurelius rose before dawn to write in his journal, to remind himself why he must lead with courage and restraint, not because he felt like it, but because his position demanded it. What demands are you ignoring? What responsibility have you been gifted but continue to avoid because it's uncomfortable? Discipline is answering those questions with action. It's choosing movement over mood. It's putting on your shoes and going for the run when your body screams for the couch. It's opening the book instead of scrolling. It's making the call instead of avoiding the hard conversation. It's choosing water over soda, reading over binging, speaking truth over pleasing others. And the thing is, you know what you should be doing. You always have. That little voice inside you that nudges you, whispers, "Get up," or "Do the thing," that's your conscience trying to rise. But every time you ignore it, every time you let the easier path win, you weaken your own trust in yourself. You tell your mind, "I don't follow through." And so you stop believing yourself. That's why you feel stuck. That's why you feel like an imposter. Discipline rebuilds that trust, brick by brick, act by act. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Are you your own master, or are you a servant to impulse, to fatigue, to convenience? What would your life look like if you followed through on the promises you made to yourself? Not just once, but every day. Can you imagine how powerful that version of you would be? Think about this. Discipline doesn't mean rigidity. It means liberation. It gives you the freedom to pursue what matters most because you're no longer a slave to what feels good in the moment. You no longer negotiate with weakness. You act with clarity, with purpose, with strength. You don't skip the workout because your mood is low. You don't ghost the meeting because you're nervous. You don't run from discomfort. You face it. Because the real pain, the kind that lingers, isn't from doing the hard thing. It's from knowing you didn't. You know that pain. You've felt it after hitting snooze too many times, after talking yourself out of an opportunity, after letting days, months, even years slip by. You told yourself you'd start tomorrow, and now you're watching another tomorrow become a yesterday. What if today was the day that changed that? Not because you did something big, but because you chose not to break your word to yourself. That's discipline. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, but it's freedom. It's the path to self-respect. And every time you choose it, even in the smallest of ways, you take your power back. What do your daily choices say about the life you're building? What do they say about who you believe you are? The Stoics believed that character is fate, that who you become is determined not by what happens to you, but by how you respond. So how are you responding? When life punches you, when doubt creeps in, when no one is watching, do you rise or retreat? Discipline is how you answer. It's how you write your story, one hard choice at a time. And when you look back, you won't remember the easy days. You'll remember the mornings you got up tired but showed up anyway. The nights you wanted to quit but finished. That's how warriors are made. Not in the spotlight, but in silence. Not in the crowd, but in solitude. Your greatness is not waiting to be found. It's waiting to be built. And the only tool that can build it is discipline. Arm yourself. Number 3, win small, win big. We often underestimate the power of a single, seemingly insignificant decision. We wait for breakthroughs, for massive wins, for life-altering shifts, and in doing so, we miss the truth staring us in the face, that greatness is crafted in the tiny moments when nobody's watching. That success isn't built in the spotlight. It's forged in silence, in the dark, in the mundane routines of our daily lives. You don't become the person you're meant to be by waiting for a miracle or a moment of intense transformation. You become them by winning the small battles, the ones you convince yourself don't matter, but they do. They always have. Waking up with your alarm instead of snoozing it, choosing patience when you're tempted to snap, pushing through one more rep at the gym when you think you've hit your limit. These are the wins that build the architecture of your character. Think about it. What's harder, running a marathon once or choosing the right meal every day for a year? Anyone can show up once. Few can be consistent. And yet consistency is where mastery is born. It's in the choice to take a 10-minute walk instead of scrolling mindlessly. In the moment you speak up when your silence is comfortable. In the minute you choose to work when distraction is whispering its sweet lies. The big wins are seductive, but they're built on 1,000 invisible victories you never gave yourself credit for. And what stops you from these small wins? It's the illusion that they don't count, that if it's not perfect, it's worthless, that if you can't commit to a huge change, it's not worth starting at all. That's the lie, the enemy. That's the belief system that keeps you average, because real progress is almost imperceptible. It's the quiet momentum that builds when you decide to keep going, day after day, step after step, without applause, without recognition, just you versus your excuses, you versus your comfort zone. And when you win those moments, not just once, but consistently, something shifts inside. You begin to trust yourself again. You start to feel capable, not in theory, but in practice, because you're proving it through action. And here's the most powerful part. Those small wins don't just change your outcomes, they change your identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and you start saying, "I am someone who follows through." That shift is everything. Because once your actions align with the person you want to be, it becomes who you are. Not forced, not aspirational, natural. And from there, the small wins compound. Like interest in a bank account, every right choice adds value, momentum, and credibility to your future self. You no longer operate on emotion, you operate on integrity. You don't need to feel like doing it because it's what you do. You don't question whether you should, because you've built a habit of winning the moment. And isn't that the kind of person you want to be? Someone whose life is shaped not by external chaos, but by internal discipline. Someone who doesn't crumble under pressure because they've trained in the quiet, thankless minutes when quitting was the easier path. Someone who understands that the smallest step forward is infinitely more powerful than 1,000 good intentions. The discipline of small wins teaches you one of life's greatest truths. That control of the self is the path to freedom. That if you can govern the micro moments, the macro will take care of itself. If you can win the hour, you can win the day. And days won lead to lives changed. So what are your small wins today? Did you drink the water instead of the soda? Did you return to your task after a distraction pulled you away? Did you say no to gossip, yes to growth? These things may feel minor. They may seem irrelevant, but they are the foundation. And if you ignore the foundation, the house will never stand. So don't wait for the breakthrough. Don't chase the big leap. Show up in the tiny trenches where the real battle is fought. Arm yourself with commitment so solid it doesn't bend under stress. Remind yourself that discipline doesn't shout. It whispers again and again, do it anyway. And every time you obey that whisper, you add another layer of strength to your spirit. You begin to see that the war isn't won in giant moments of glory. It's won in the decision to not hit snooze, to not check out, to not compromise. It's won in silence, in effort, in resolve. The world will always try to distract you with noise, with urgency, with false promises of easy success. But your strength, the kind that lasts, is found in those quiet, almost invisible choices you make when no one's around to applaud, when the only witness is your conscience, and that conscience knows who you're meant to be. That version of you, strong, clear, committed, isn't waiting for a grand moment. It's waiting for you to win one small moment, right now, and then the next, and the next, until those moments aren't effort anymore, they're identity. That's how you rise, that's how you win, small, steady, relentless. Number 4, the turnaround. There is a moment in every person's life when they look in the mirror and barely recognize the version of themselves staring back. Not because they've aged or changed, but because they've drifted, slowly, silently, away from who they know they could be. That drift isn't always obvious. It doesn't scream. It creeps in when excuses become more familiar than effort, when settling becomes more comfortable than striving, when your potential becomes a theory instead of a pursuit. And deep down, you know it. You've felt it in the guilt of wasted time, in the hollow feeling after a day lived below your standards, in the gnawing sense that you're capable of more, but something keeps holding you back, that something isn't the world, or your circumstances, or bad luck. It's the choices, small, daily, unexamined, that stack into a life you never intended to build. But here's the unfiltered truth. The same way you drifted, you can return. The same steps that led you here can lead you back, in the opposite direction. No one is coming to rescue you from that spiral. No external change will fix an internal resignation, and no amount of temporary motivation will reverse the effects of chronic self-betrayal. The only cure is clarity, courage, and commitment. Clarity to admit where you are, courage to face the parts of yourself you've avoided, commitment to rebuild, piece by piece, the identity you want to embody. Turnarounds are not mystical, they're mechanical. They happen when excuses lose their appeal and reality becomes too heavy to ignore. When you're no longer willing to pretend that your problems are outside your control. You may not be at fault for where you started, but you are responsible for where you go next. Responsibility is not a burden. It's power. It's the red pill that shows you that you're not broken, just undisciplined, not unlucky, just unfocused, not incapable, just untrained. And what do you do with that realization? You begin, not with grand gestures or public declarations, but with quiet resolve. You decide that today will not be like yesterday. You take responsibility for your thoughts, your actions, your results. You stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect plan. You act, right now. Because the person you want to become isn't waiting on permission. They're waiting on you to stop negotiating with mediocrity. Every turnaround starts with a moment of brutal honesty. Are you proud of how you've been showing up? Do your habits reflect your highest values or your lowest impulses? Are you building a life or managing a decline? These questions aren't meant to shame, they're meant to awaken, to provoke the kind of self-awareness that precedes transformation. Because you cannot fix what you won't face. And if your current patterns are producing regret, anxiety, weakness, they will continue to until you replace them with discipline, alignment, strength. A better life doesn't demand perfection. It demands ownership. Ownership of your thoughts, your time, your energy. Ownership of the fact that every decision you make today is a vote for the person you become tomorrow. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to stop hiding from what you already know. That your life is waiting on you. That every minute wasted is a minute stolen from your own potential. And that turning around doesn't require changing everything. It requires changing direction. If you're tired of the cycle, if you're sick of feeling behind, it's time to shift. Not with intensity, but with integrity. Not to impress others, but to reclaim your own respect. You don't need another plan. You need to show up differently to the same life. Your current reality isn't the end of your story unless you keep rereading the same chapter. The power to pivot is always in your hands, not someday, but now. The discomfort you feel in this moment isn't punishment. It's a signal. It's your conscience calling you back to your potential. It's your soul reminding you that you weren't meant for average, that inside you is a force stronger than your excuses, more resilient than your past, more capable than your fear. The same mind that dragged you into complacency can discipline you into greatness if you command it. The same body that you've neglected can become a vessel of strength if you train it. And the same story you've been ashamed of can become your greatest testimony if you rewrite it through action. The turnaround isn't a fantasy, it's a fight. A decision to stop settling, to stop explaining away your power, to stop being a victim of your own habits. No one will hand you the life you want, but you can build it, brick by brick, day by day. And it begins with the choice to stop drifting and start directing. Turnarounds are quiet revolutions. They don't need applause. They need grit. Not a better life, a better standard. Not more time, better use of it. Not new circumstances, a new response to them. The life you're chasing doesn't require permission you've been waiting for from the world, from your past, from people who never understood your vision. The only person whose approval matters is the one staring back at you. So what would happen if, starting now, you chose to earn your own respect? If you treated your time as sacred, your potential as priceless, and your character as non-negotiable? The answer to that question isn't just your turnaround, it's your legacy. The war within you is the most important battle you'll ever fight, because when you win it, everything else changes. You stop surviving and start building. You stop doubting and start deciding. Your power doesn't come from motivation, luck, or circumstances. It comes from the quiet, disciplined, relentless decision to show up as who you were meant to be. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now.